Hello everyone, my name is Loco and welcome to a new game of StarCraft II Heart of the Swarm. This is a game that I played a little while ago when the new season started, and I thought it was actually a pretty awesome game. I remember saving it at the time and I thought I was being absolutely so sneaky right now, and it's actually a game where I decided to go for a little bit of a cheesier build order. I actually don't remember whether or not I lost this game or I won it, so we will figure that out together while we're actually watching this. Anyway, it's going to be a game where I spot a certain weakness for my opponent and then just decide to try and capitalize on it, which is a risky move because oftentimes it actually doesn't really work, especially whenever you see your opponent going for something such as a weak wall of. Now in this specific game, I'm going to go for a Baneling versus Protoss, but we will try and see what exactly my thought process was during the game, so I can actually maybe guide you through the thoughts that I was having and therefore help you out with your own game. Now, as you might have noticed, we are watching this game mostly through my vision of view, and we can think about the things that I was thinking about while playing this game, so it's going to be a little bit easier to discuss that. Now, I'm just going to open up pretty standard though. I would be surprised if there's anything fancy that I really open up with, especially considering it's this map, you know. This map is really not viable to go for something too cheesy, and honestly, like going for a 10 pool on a map like this is just a bit too risky with the amount of gateway expense that you can just see straight up nowadays. And there we go. Going for a hatchery first on a low ground, a little bit risky, but honestly nowadays that is one of the most standard all-around great and strong openers. Now I'm gonna go a little bit cheeky though, and open up with a 3 hatch before the spawning pool. Now this is one of these build orders that is extremely good, as long as you manage to just straight up win versus it with your opponent and you manage to get it up and running. Now I do decide to go for a gas geyser right here, and I might actually decide to throw up the spawning pool right now as well, seeing that his probe came in from a wrong angle. Now, the reason for that right here, you might be a little bit confused, but I saw his probe coming in from this little angle right here. So I'm actually expecting there's going to be something that is going to be a little bit more cheesy. Because normally you would just straight up see the probe coming in like this and just go straight to the natural. He was coming from the west side of the map, which is something that you usually don't really see. So what I decided to do instead of going for the 3rd hatch is just straight up go for a gas geyser and follow it up with a spawning pool. So that is my thought process that is happening right now. Now I kind of need to figure out why my opponent was making that weird move, but seeing his wall right there, as long as I manage to see exactly that when he puts down that nexus, which is right now, I know I'm safe. Normally, a normal good time for a nexus that is good to keep in mind is the 4-minute mark. Usually 4 minutes and 5 seconds is the standard timing right there for a nexus to go down. Now, if you take a look at his nexus right now, it is currently 4 minutes and 5 to 10 seconds, so usually this nexus would go down right now. What can we actually learn from that? Knowing it's about 10-15 seconds earlier, we can actually know it's not gonna be a zealot. If he actually would have gotten a zealot, which is his standard order of getting the things in, he would not have been able to get this nexus this early, meaning that I can just drone as hard as I can right now. So that's a subtle little difference. Seeing this nexus went 10 seconds rather earlier than you would normally see it actually allows me to make just as many drones as I possibly want. Now, there's one more thing that I also noticed, which you can already see at the production tab right there. I saw he is actually playing pretty risky. He's going for a pylon, into a pylon, into another pylon right here. And this is a double pylon wall-off, which means that he will have absolutely not the amount of force field necessary to deal with this. So what I'm gonna do is start a whole lot of Zerglings very soon and just try and see how much damage I can do by going for a Baneling boss. Now keep in mind, doing a Baneling boss is extremely risky. I'm trying to actually trick my opponent right here as well by putting a drone right to the 3rd base as well, knowing I wasn't going to take it anyway, but just to pretend I'm gonna be a little bit smarter and actually go for a standard game. But if you take a look at the production tab right now, I am producing 26 Zerglings, which are definitely not meant for recreational purposes, because I'm gonna try and do as much damage as I can right now. Now I need to try and actually manage to sneak by this mothership core. He probably spots it right there if I'm not careful enough, and he's like, okay, what are you gonna do with that, bro? Because just Zerglings are really not gonna do much. So here we go, I'm gonna try and just run towards his natural and morph a couple of Banes when I'm actually on his side of the map. So here we go, I'm almost there. Gonna try and start morphing as many as I can right now, see what I can do, and it does look like he managed to wall it off for the time being. Putting all my Banelings right now on a separate hotkey, and I'm gonna try and break this natural. Now, if I get lucky and I manage to get in here, it will actually be extremely worth it. But my opponent scouted it early on, which is a big deal. But here we go, I'm gonna try and use these Banelings to blow up, and I managed to blow up that pylon right there, but he has another wall already, and I should be able to just barely maybe get that. The rocks at the bottom of the ramp are actually sneaking in, but he misses the force field, and I managed to get all my Zerglings in the main base, which is where all of his probes are located. So far I actually managed to get extremely lucky, but as you can see on the production tab, I was following this up with more and more drones. So I'm not going to go completely all in, but I'm glad I managed to get into the main base. Now, if I manage to also get the kill on this Nexus, that would be absolutely huge, but I need to try and do as much damage as I can right now, trying to see whatever I can get done on this Nexus, and I'm gonna try and expand towards the third base. So far this build has been successful. It was extremely close right there, but knowing my opponent had some sort of weakness allowed me to go for this build. Elsewise it would actually never really have been possible if my opponent would have gone for a standard build order. Now here we go, I'm still having all these Zerglings out, gonna try and see whatever damage I can do, get a kill on a Zealot right now, which is honestly, it's not very cost efficient, but knowing I'm at a huge economy advantage allows me to just take trades like that. I know, okay, I will have my third base up and running very soon, so I should have enough economy to just straight up kill my opponent. Now my Nexus is, or my Laravel is already in production as well, gonna start some creep spread, but what am I gonna transition to? That's going to be the real question. I'm starting 4 gas geysers right now, which means I'm likely gonna start transitioning into something like Mutalisk. But let's hold this thought a little bit and let's think about what your opponent could be going for. Knowing my opponent is only on one base, effectively speaking, what he is likely gonna try and do is just try and retake the main base, right? What are really his options right now? Either he goes for a 4-gate off of 2 bases, which is really not viable, or he's just gonna try and expand normally and just pretend this didn't happen, taking a huge economy deficit, but trying to just play it safely to get back into this game. Now, knowing that this is the case, I know in either situation whether or not he's going to be aggressive or if he decides to actually play this safely. In both situations, he won't be pushing for another little bit. I have 2 Zerglings at his front right now, so I can actually know exactly when he moves out. So I know exactly when he decides to move to my side of the map. So for the time being, I am actually free to drone up. So what I'm doing, I just made a big batch of drones that are going to his third base right now, or to my own third base right now, which allow me to get a huge economy right now. Now I'm a little bit worried to actually hit the I button, but there we go. It is 57 Harvesters versus only 31, which means I'm pretty much just tripling my income. Now what I could decide to do is just try and win this game right now and go for a big push and just see what I can get done, but I'm decided to play it a little bit more safely and just sit back on my huge economy deficit while scouting him heavily. I do see the robotics bay, or robotics facility rather, did not manage to scout the robotics base, so I don't know that he's going Colossus, but either way I am pretty safe right now to just make a ton of drones right now until I'm satisfied with the amount of drones I have, while just playing it safely and getting a Spire up. Now the Spire that I'm getting will basically be just in case there's gonna be Colossus. Knowing there's a robotics facility already, it's gonna be likely that there's a robotics bay as well, so I'm just gonna start making units right now, and if necessary I can always make Corruptors. Managed to spot the probe right there as well, which is quite useful. And yeah, I will just try my best to actually kill that right now, and I do manage to get that. Now, knowing he's likely already on my side of the map, or he's actually moving across the map right now with a probe, I will try and need to do as much damage as I can. I get back in the main base, try and scout around what's happening, and I'm just gonna make as many units as possible, getting a ton of Hydras out right now, already having my +1/+1 going, getting my road speed as well. I should have a good time cleaning up this army as soon as it moves to my side of the map, but I don't really know when that's happening, and as you can see on the production tab, which I didn't know while playing this game, he is going for Colossus. Now his first Colossus is already in production, at least I think that is his first Colossus. Let's have a look. Yep, that is definitely his first Colossus right now. Which just straight up means I have a pretty bad army in dealing with that. Like, Hydralisks and Zerglings, they are very good versus everything that a Protoss has, but the Colossus actually does bonus damage versus light units, and both Hydras and Zerglings are light units, so I need something a little bit beefier in my army. So I'm deciding to adding on a couple of roaches to this army composition right now. Getting a little bit of an even amount of roaches as well as Hydras is going to be very, very useful. Now I'm starting to scout around once more to try and figure out exactly what my opponent is up to, because so far I really haven't seen him do much than just sit back, so I'm getting a little bit cheeky by it. But here we go. I decided to make a couple of Corruptors right now, and I actually see an Observer move out right now as well, so I know he does definitely have a ton of units out. So if I manage to pick that off as well, that would be a very, very nice pickup, and should be able to get it. Ooh, come on, get it, Lowko. Yeah, there we go. I did manage to get the Observer right now. And now I just have so many units that it should be nearly impossible for my opponent to really do much with. I have a superior economy. I know I just have straight up more income than him. And I got a couple of Corruptors here as well to deal with these Colossus that are out right now. So let's just sit back a little bit longer just to play it completely safely. I don't really want to take any risks that are unnecessary. But I should have a relatively easy time cleaning up this army when it eventually moves. So I'm just deciding to make as many units as possible right now, sitting back with my couple of spy callers, playing extremely safely, but honestly this is usually your best bet. But you, basically whenever you get a big advantage in StarCraft II, you always have the option to instantly leave the game, or just try and kill your opponent and then leave the game, or you can actually just sit back, which is exactly what I prefer to do. It's a little bit maybe of a more boring style, but it's definitely the more safe all-around option. Whenever you take an advantage, you can try and capitalize on that advantage and win straight up, or you can sit back and take another base. And usually what, especially lower league players tend to do, is just go for the throat right away. What I would advise you to do is just test this out. Whenever you get a big advantage, like I clearly did in this game, instead of deciding to counterattack versus your opponent and try and just finish him straight up, decide to engage later on into the game when you have the significant edge, which I'm definitely having right now. If you take a look at the supply count, I am maxed out when he is only at 110 supply, so I really need to start moving at least a little bit right now. But it's definitely a good thought though. Whenever you're ahead, get more ahead, like Artosa said a long time ago, and that is definitely, I have always kept true, and I think it's something that you can definitely try out as well. So here we go, gonna start target firing down these Colossus, using my corruption ability from these Corruptors as well, forcing his Colossus back, and I just have a simply easy time to deal with all of these units right now. So here we go, he's trying to deal with my army, but he really doesn't have that much anymore, and I decide to make a ton more units, just swarm him right now. So all my units are gonna move to the other side of the map right now. I'm gonna start moving towards his third base, towards his natural, putting corruption on all of these units that he has, making sure these immortals die as soon as they possibly can. And here we go, I should have an easy time cleaning up this army. He says ... and GG. So thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Hopefully you learned something from this game. When you're ahead, get more ahead, and I will see you again. Bye! Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome to a new StarCraft II Heart of the Swarm video. Today we're gonna be discussing a pretty difficult build order for Zerg versus Protoss. This is a build order that